Hi, this is Ali Arango from Game Visuals, and today I want to show you how to have a player get into a vehicle, drive that vehicle, and then get out of that vehicle in Gdevelop 5. So let's get started. Okay, the car that you see here has isometric movement set up on it so that as it moves you can see the car in 8 different angles. There's another tutorial on this channel where I show you how to do that. In the link for the description for this video, I will put up a link so you can get the sprites for this car. So you can use that to follow along with this tutorial if you want, or you could bring in another vehicle, that's fine as well. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the right, we're going to click this plus button, we're going to go to sprite, we're going to change this object name. When we click sprite, we're bringing in a sprite. So we're going to change this to driver. We're then going to click this plus button to the right, the plus button to the left, and then we're going to go to where we have our driver sprite. This is my driver sprite right here. I'm going to click open to bring this in. So now it's here in Gdevelop. Now I'm going to go to behaviors, and then I'm going to go to the right. So when I click behaviors, it set me up by putting this purple underneath behaviors. I have to click this plus to actually go into behaviors. Now we see all these different behaviors here, and what behaviors are is they are pre-set up options that allow you to easily make a character controllable. So we're going to go to top-down movements. We're going to left click here. The way that the controls are set up here are fine. And then we're going to click apply. If you look at this character, you can see the character is facing towards the right. Be aware that in Gdevelop, pointing towards the right to Gdevelop is 0. So long story short, when you bring a character in, if you want the character to move right with a top-down, the standard top-down behavior on it, you want to bring your character in with it facing to the right. Okay, so with that done, we're going to left click and drag first we're going to left click, then we're going to drag this out. So here's our character right here. Our character is too big, so we're going to hold shift, and then we're going to go to this corner right here. While holding shift, I'm moving my mouse, and I am resizing the character. By holding shift, I was able to resize the character without deforming the character. So that's why I was holding shift. Okay, so right now this car has a top-down behavior on it as well. That wasn't set up in this tutorial. That was set up previously. That was when I was mentioning to you about the isometric movement. So this car has top-down movement. This character has top-down movement. So I'm going to press the launch preview button. This lets us preview our game. So when I press the arrow keys, our car as well as our character are moving at the same time, and we don't want this. Okay, so the goal of this tutorial is for the character to be able to get up, go towards the car, get in the car, and then drive in the car, and then get out of the car. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that this car does not move when our player character moves, at least as far as appearance. So we need to go to Game 1 Events. Right here, what you see, this is from previous code. That's the isometric code that lets you see the 8 different angles of the car. So what we need to do is go to Add Condition, and we're looking for Scene. So we're going to go to Scene, which you can see right here. We're going to left click. Then we're going to select At the Beginning of the Scene. And we're just going to click OK. When we're done with Gdevelop, we have our conditions and our actions. Conditions basically tell you when something happens, and then actions tell you what's going to happen when that thing happens. So we're saying at the beginning of the scene. So at the beginning of the scene, we want something to happen, and that something that we want to happen is we want to actually turn off the behavior for our car at the beginning of the scene. So what we're going to do is left click on Add Action. We're going to go to Common Action for all objects. We look down to where we see behaviors. We're going to left click here, and then we have this D/activate a behavior. We're going to left click here. And what we want is our car is named player. So we want to left click on player. And then I just left click here to get that menu to go away. So for this, we want to click no. And basically what we're doing is by setting this action and clicking no, when we start up our scene, our car, which is named player, should not move. So we're going to click OK. So now let's test this out. So we're going to click our preview button, or did click our preview button. And now you can see that just our player is moving, and that's what we want. So that's good. Okay, now what we need to do is to add a new event. So we're going to click here. And when we click here, so see how this is gray here? If I click here, right, things change between clicking here and here. So see how there's like a blue line going around this rectangle here? When I click here, that blue line is away. So you notice that like when I click here, watch this button right here. This is grayed out. But when I click here, now you can see that button. So that's kind of why, like if you hear me say something like specific, like look at the blue line going around here, it's because it actually is important. So with the blue line going around, with us having this event selected like it is, we want to click on this event. All right, for this event, what we want to do is select Add Condition. We then want to go to Common Conditions for all objects. We then want to go to Collision, and then go to Collision, the collision that appeared underneath of it, and select Collision again. The order here isn't particularly important as far as I know anyway, so we're just going to click Player. And then for this second object, we're going to click Driver. And basically, this is basically telling Gdevelop, look, when these two objects collide with each other, we want something to happen. So we're going to click OK now. And we can see here's our code now. Player is in collision with driver. And that's what we want. Okay, so there's some other things we want. So we have this player's in collision with driver, right? See how we have that blue line going around here? That's good because we're about to use a sub-event. I'm going to click this button. Before we were clicking this button, now I'm clicking on this button, add a sub-event to the selected event. Okay, so we have a sub-event. So why use a sub-event instead of just a regular event? We're using a sub-event because we could do a separate event, and we could do what we're about to do is we're going to add a button where when we press a button, we're telling Gdevelop, look, when we press a certain key, we want something to happen, right? Now we could do a new event, and then in that new event, put in player is in collision with driver, and then do the key. But there's no need to do that. If we do an event and then a sub event, what's in the not the event. If we do a condition instead of a sub condition, what's here will carry over to whatever in the sub event. Okay. So what we want to do here is we want to make something happen when we press a key. So I am going to click Add Condition, and then I am going to go to Keyboard. We're going to go to Key Pressed. So now we can pick a key. I'm thinking Drive. So I'm going to press the D key. So this is a lowercase d that I pressed. I could have scrolled down through this list to also have gotten a D. I just choose to press D. So if you do choose to just press D, you want to do a lowercase d. So what we're going to do is click OK. We only want this to happen once. So what we're going to do is this condition right here. We're going to click Add Condition. We're going to go to Advanced, and then we're going to go to right here where we see Trigger Once While True. So we're going to left click on that, and then we're going to click OK. So basically, this thing that what we're trying to get happen here will only happen one time, and that is what we want. So now that we have player is in collision with driver, and then when that collision happens, we want the D key to be pressed and it to be only triggered once. We're now ready for the next step. Okay, so when the car, what's the first thing we want to happen? It should look like the player is getting into the car. So let's make it so the player disappears. So we're going to click Add Action. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Common Actions for All. And then we're going to go to Visibility. And then we're going to select Hide. And what is the object that we want to hide? We want to hide the driver. So I just click to get that menu to go away. Now I'm going to click OK. So basically what's going on, we're saying, look, when the player is in collision with the driver and the D key is pressed, trigger this once, hide the object driver. So that basically is going to make it look like the driver is actually getting in the car. Okay, another thing is we want, when the driver gets in the car, we want the car to be drivable now. So now we want to be able to control the car instead of the driver. So we're going to click Add Action. And we're going to go to Common Action for All Objects. We're going to go down to Behaviors. We're going to go to D/Activated Behavior. And we want the player, which is the car, to be activated. And this time we're going to click Yes. So now we're going to select OK. Okay, so what's going on now is the player is going to be hid, and the player is going to not be controllable at this point. The car is going to be controllable at this point. At least that's how it's going to look. It's good how it works. Okay, when the player is touching the car, we want the player to move with the car so that the player can get back out of the car. So to do that, we're going to click Add Action. We're going to go to Common Actions for All Objects. We're now going to go to Position. I'm going to scroll down. And we want this right here, put an object around another. So we're going to left click. And the object that we actually want to focus on here is the driver. So we're going to left click on the driver. And we're just going to click OK here. As that is saying that just because I clicked here, I believe, pretty sure. I'm going to click OK. And what should happen now is, we're going to try to preview and see. We should be able to walk up to the car and then press D. Excellent. So now the car is drivable. So I'm going to close this window here. Okay, now how the player walked up onto the car, I don't like that, so let's fix that. So what we're going to do first is we're going to click here. We're clicking here so that we can make sure that when we put an event down, this event will be a regular event. And you can tell a regular event because it's like these. It isn't indented. So with this selected, with this line going around, we can now make a regular event. So we're going to left click. For this event, we're going to not put a condition there. We're just going to go to Add Action. So we're going to left click on Add Action. We're going to go to Common Action for All Objects. We're going to go down to Position. And we are looking for Separate Two Objects. So we're going to left click on this. This is important, the order that things go in. For this, we want the driver to be in the first position. There's two positions. We want the car, which is named Player, in the second condition. The reason why we want this, that these things in this order, whatever is on top will be movable. And whatever's on the bottom will not be movable as far as these objects colliding into each other. So you want the driver to be on the top and the car to be on the bottom. So now we're going to left click on OK. So now let's preview and see what's going on here. Okay, so now you see that our character doesn't go over top of the car, but it's too far. So we can deal with that fairly easily. We're going to click the X button to come out of here. We're going to click to go back to game one. And what we want to do is let's double click on our driver. And then we're going to focus on where we see this edit hitboxes. We're going to left click here. And what we're going to do is see where we see this thing that says use a custom collision mask. We're going to left click there. We're then going to click this plus button here. Now when we did that, we have this shape with these four circles on it. And what this is lets us make a custom hitbox. So what we want to do is take these circles and spread them out, but not too much. Because this is basically controlling how Gdevelop is going to work with our character as far as collisions. That looks good to me. We're going to left click on close, and then we're going to left click on apply. So now that character's hitbox is different. Now we need to do this to the car. So we're going to double click on the car. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, past all of these angles that are set up. And the same thing, we're going to go to edit hitboxes. We can see how big the hitbox is right here. I'm going to scroll this down. I'm going to select use a custom collision mask. Like before, we don't see anything yet because we have to click this plus to the right. Now we see there's the collision mask that's going to work with our hitbox. What we want to do is pull these dots out so that this is a little past the front of the car. And then we want to make this so that this goes out wide enough to cover up our tires, and as well as the back of the car. Okay, that looks good to me. So I'm going to left click on close, left click on apply. Now I'm going to preview this. And now you can see our character is coming right up to the car, but not going through it like before. We press the D key, and just like before, our character can drive the car. Okay, we're going to click back on Game 1 events. We're almost through this. Now we need to make it so that the player can get out of the car. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're clicked on this event. So we have this blue outline going around this event. And the reason why we do that is so that when we click this add new event, that this comes out all the way to the edge. So what we need to do is have a key for the character. We need to have a key that we can press so the character can come out of the car. So we're going to left click on add condition. We're going to select keyboard. We're going to scroll down. We're going to go to key pressed, left click there. And then I'm going to choose the A key. So this is a little a. I'm going to left click here just to get that menu to go away. I'm going to then select OK. Okay, and now we need to show the player. So we're going to go to add action. We're going to go to common actions for all, visibility, and then left click on show. And then we're going to left click on driver. Then we're going to left click on OK. So we're saying, look, when the A key is pressed, show the object driver. And that's what we want. Okay, and we need to basically, when the driver pops up again, we need to turn off the behavior for the car. So we're going to click add action. We're going to go to common action for all objects, behaviors, D/activated behavior. And then this is the player. So we're going to left click on player. And we want the car to be deactivated, so we're going to click no. And now we're going to click OK. Okay, so we should be able to, when we press the A key, to show the driver as well as deactivate the behavior of the car. So let's go to our launch a preview of the scene button. So now we'll walk up to our car. We'll press the let's go around to the driver's side. We'll press the D key. And now we're in the car, driving the car. And now we'll press the A key to get out of the car. And then now we should be able to go and get back in the car with the D key. There we go. So we can have our character get out and get back in. In Gdevelop, I'm sure there's multiple ways to do this. This is my particular way of doing it. I like how it works. The character is actually inside of the car. The character actually moves with the car. So yeah, I like how this turns out. If you guys have anything to add to this or suggestions to make this better, let me know. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. If you like this tutorial, please like this tutorial, give it a like. Also share it with your friends. And if you like the videos in this channel, you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.